Okay, I gotta talk fast because I have another video that I had planned to shoot today, but I have to talk about this because it's on my mind. I went to go see Dear White People last night, and the film was amazing, but there was a discussion afterwards, and I didn't know there was going to be, so I kind of want to talk about that. The movie itself, it was great. I think it touched on a lot of issues that everyone needed to hear, and it had a great breadth. It didn't just skim the surface. It talked about everything from colorism to intersecting oppression of being a gay person and also being a person of color. So it definitely touched on a lot of things I think everyone needed to hear. But the film itself was just beautifully shot, and the music was wonderful, and I think that they used each shot to really underline the themes. They did a lot of shots in mirrors, which I thought brought up the concept of what is your personal self and what is your identity that other people see you as and that you put on for other people. So that was fascinating. It's definitely something that everyone should go see, but if you really like movies, it's beautiful. In the discussion afterwards, we kind of talked about, is this a letter to white people or not? And of course, me watching it as a white person, I'm going, well, yeah, it's definitely a letter to white people because I'm seeing it through my lens as a white person. So I'm glad we had the discussion afterwards to like confront how I viewed it, because as other people are saying, no, I think it's a message just for black people. For example, Coco is a dark-skinned black woman trying to deal with how she feels about herself as a black woman and how she feels that other women that are light-skinned, how they are treated differently than she is. That's something that she struggles with through the whole movie, and I'm sitting there watching it going, yeah, girls like Coco need to hear this. They need to see that they're just as beautiful and that they don't need to work twice as hard to get the same guys that these light-skinned girls do. And this is a message that men need to hear, that they need to see what they're doing to dark-skinned women when they say things to them about them not being as beautiful and things like that. So yeah, I definitely think that this is not just a letter for white people, it's not just a letter for black people. I think it's a letter for society at large, that we all need to hear these things and we all need to face up to what part we're playing in it. But there was a part of the discussion last night that did get really uncomfortable because there were white people talking about experiences that were not their own. This is something that white people like to do, that they like to talk about something that didn't happen to them as if it were something that they dealt with personally. In this case, it was a white man talking about his cousins who were biracial and how they had to code switch, but he didn't know how to talk about these things in the proper terminology, so it was really embarrassing for him, but then also just uncomfortable for everyone else that he was talking about other people's experiences as if he had gone through them personally and as if they were relevant to him and affected his identity as a person. So and they didn't. He also brought up affirmative action and how he felt as a white man that he really resonated with the part of the film where another white man gets up and says that he's concerned that affirmative action is making it so that the hardest thing to be as a white man nowadays, and they're really at a disadvantage. That's just a fundamental misunderstanding of affirmative action and how it works. And it's ironic that he resonated with that person in the film, because I think what they were trying to show by having that white guy say, you know, I'm at the biggest disadvantage here, is to show that he is the only person who would be at that school regardless of affirmative action. His dad is the president of the university, so he's literally the only person there who is there not based on merit. And, you know, he may have gotten into the school otherwise, but it doesn't matter because he never has to question that, because the system is already in place to advantage him by having his father be the president, which that's kind of how systemic racism works. So there's already the scaffolding built where white people are going to profit. So affirmative action isn't some quota out there that there's a person checkmarking going, oh yeah, this company hired exactly 2% Native American and exactly 2% Pacific Islander. No one is doing that. No one is accounting to make sure that every single industry is 50% women. It's just not happening. What affirmative action does is ensures that they consider those people. That's all it does. So I work at a university that happens to do a lot of outreach in multicultural communities. They do a lot to make sure that they have these kids to consider, but that doesn't mean they have to let them in. So the system that already keeps these people at a disadvantage is going to keep them at a disadvantage. These kids are attending schools that get less money than white schools and have worse teachers, are going to still be considered on the same standards that all these white kids are getting considered on, but they have to be considered, whereas before they weren't. So nobody is taking these spots from white people. Why do they believe that these spots belong to them in the first place? A white person doesn't just deserve the spot because they exist. For example, a girl stood up and talked about how she was told by one of her friends that he didn't get into OSU because some black person probably took his spot. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't belong to you to begin with, and also it's not some quota that they're trying to fill to make sure that they have enough black people at the university. They just have to consider them on the same standards that they've been considering you. And so if you don't meet up to that, you need to face up to that, and you need to understand that this is a system that has been broken for a very long time. It's a playing field that's been like this, with all the white people over here having all these privileges that they haven't even had to think about. And suddenly the playing field's getting a little bit more even. White people still have a ton of privilege that they don't recognize and aren't forced to face because they benefit from it. The system makes it so that you don't have to question it. But the playing field is just slightly more level, and people think, oh, well, I'm not going to get all the opportunities that I had to have. But that's part of giving up privilege. I don't think white people are ready to face that yet. They have to give up some privilege if things are going to be fair. So that's probably one of the biggest roadblocks to change, is that people aren't willing to give up their privilege. They're not even willing to admit that they have it. I know that people are watching this video right now going, I don't have privilege, I had a hard life. But that's not really what privilege means. But we all have our prejudices. We all have our hang-ups and things that we need to face and come to terms with. There were times when I had something I wanted to say and I didn't care if somebody else had something more relevant to say, especially about the affirmative action and having worked in admissions. I was like, no, I need to correct this guy. Even though there were multiple black people who had their hands up, I was like, but I really need to talk. And that's something that white people do all the time, and I need to be cognizant of that and be patient with myself and say, no, you need to hang on and let people talk from their actual valid experiences before you talk about something that you don't have firsthand experience with. And the fact that I did see the movie initially as a letter to white people, when really I should have seen it as a letter to everybody. So we all have our issues and prejudices, and not talking about it is not the way to get rid of them. Like, acknowledge that you still have issues, and everyone still has issues, and we need to fix them. And finally, I just want to say, if you have questions about these things, please don't go to someone and say, you're black, why can't I say the N-word, like people did in the movie. Please go educate yourself first. Don't put the pressure on them to waste their life educating you. You need to educate yourself. So if you're sitting here thinking, I don't have privilege, I don't understand, my life was hard too, go look it up. Go read Unpacking the Invisible Backpack. And go read about other people's experiences that are different from your own. Don't sit there and think, I've got it all figured out and I know what my experiences are. You need to understand how other people are coming from. So even if you think you understand it all, don't stop discussing it. Even if people say stupid, uncomfortable things, don't stop discussing it. We need to keep bringing it up. That's the only way that we're going to face our issues and the issues of society as a whole. So if there's anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so in the comments below. I'd really love to hear from you guys. So if you like uncomfortable conversations, feel free to like and subscribe. Also, you may notice that my video quality has gotten a lot better. I was using an SD card that was like full size and it was only 1 gigabyte, and I've got this one now that's like 8 gigabytes and tiny, so I'll be using that and things will be a lot clearer and sound will probably be better. So thank you for bearing with me through technical issues. I hope you keep watching. I'll keep making stuff either way, so it'd be great if somebody was watching it. Okay, bye!
Say bye, Scout. Good boy.